so we have Christian values. We are very conservative here. We're not ashamed about that. And so we want to know what our candidates believe on not only broader statewide issues, but of course just local issues that pertain to the Lumberton School District and budgeting and things of that nature. And so we're going to have a couple of different rounds that go through here. And so each candidate will get an opening statement, and they'll get 3 minutes to do that. Then afterwards we'll proceed into the question. And so we're going to have 2 rounds of questions. The first round of questions is kind of a speed round. Each candidate gets 1 minute to respond. The second round will get 3 minutes to respond, and then each candidate will get 2 minutes as a kind of a closing statement as well. And then on top of that, if for any reason a candidate should mention the name of another candidate, that candidate will get 30 seconds to respond and kind of just get a rebuttal there if needed. And we're not going to open it up to any kind of Q&A publicly, but if you'd like to stay later and speak with the candidates, you're more than welcome to do that as long as they're willing to stay. But we'll keep the lights on and the doors open as long as people are willing to stop to stay and to talk and to ask questions. And if you have the questions you would like to ask, again, another time, these are candidates. You can speak to them whenever you like and get a hold of them. Each one of them is accessible through social media, and I'm sure they'll be willing to give out whatever information is needed, and I'll let them introduce themselves. I would like to introduce our administrative pastor here, Brother Tim Collick. Brother Tim's been with us now for about 1.5 years or so. He's been in ministry for 40 plus years. He also substitute teaches at the Lumberton School District. So I'm going to invite him to come up and open us up in a word of prayer.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your goodness to us. Thank you for your blessings. We thank you for our community. This is an important time for our community as we elect a new school board member. And so we ask for your blessing, your guidance. Pray that as the questions are asked, that they would be understood and clear. Pray for the responses, that you'd give clarity of thought and expression. We pray that everything that's done would be decently and in order, be pleasing to you. So ask for your blessing upon our time together. We pray these things in the name of our Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen and amen. Alrighty, also, if you be so kind as to silence your phones, that'd be appreciated. And so each candidate here will have 3 minutes for an opening statement, and they're going to be in alphabetical order, beginning from the first name. So Miss Ashley, can you be so kind?
Can I use, don't want to use that, do I? I'm loud anyway, so
Okay.
everybody hear me. Okay. Ashley Wirt, maiden name is Buckholtz. I've been here since I was 4 years old, so I'm also a native from Lumberton, K through 12, as well as my 2 brothers that followed me. My husband's also K through 12, and my kids here will be K through 12. I have 3 girls in the district, a freshman, a 7th grader, and a 2nd grader. And I have always wanted to run for school board. It's just a moment where we prayed about it, talked about it, and we felt that this was a good time to do it. I am coming here pretty much as a servant of Lumberton. So Lumberton did myself and my family very well. We are pillars of this community. We work in this community, and I just want to give back to Lumberton ISD what they were able to give to me and my family, and I feel that having a board position with Lumberton ISD can help me do that. If you have any questions, my cell phone is plastered all over town because of what I do for a living, and you can get me on social media.
Thank you, ma'am.
Are these turned on?
Yes, ma'am. There's a on mic right there. It'll be glowing green.
First of all, I want to say thank you for coming out. It's an important thing to be present and have a voice in your local community. I'm Kristen Herrera. While I'm not a native from here, I've lived here for 18 years. My husband is a native of Southeast Texas, was a native of Southeast Texas. Next Monday will be a 2-year anniversary of his passing. But he served in the military for 21 years in the Air Force, retired as a master sergeant. And when he retired, he wanted to come back to his home state. And when we started looking at what was around and those types of things, we looked at Lumberton. And we looked at the school district, and we looked at the tax rates, and we looked at all of that. And we wanted to invest our times. One of the things for me growing up, I grew up in a single parent family. My mother raised me and my 3 sisters on her own. And one of the things that I was not afforded as a child was to be raised in a school district from K through 12. So to have that impact on my kids, my daughter just graduated last May. My son is currently in 6th grade. And I would like to see that vision come to fruition. And so we've established ourselves and continue to stay in Lumberton. The school district as it is of itself, as a parent, I wasn't involved early on in my daughter's early years, but my son was diagnosed with autism and I wanted to engage in the system. and I started going to school board meetings, and I wanted to be angry at the school board and bring all of my problems to them. And I really understood over the last 6 years what it is that they actually do and provide for our district, and started gaining an understanding of what challenges that they face, and wanting to become part of the solution. And so for the last 6 years, I've engaged in the process. I've participated in committees. I've gone to different events that they've had and explaining what our district has. And so my investment is not only to invest back in my kids, but it's to invest in all of our kids. Education is at a crisis point right now. Our teachers are at a crisis point right now, and we need to see some systematic change. And I would like to be a part of that. So I'm asking that this is our community, these are our kids, and I'm asking to be your voice.
Thank you. Mr. Rob.
Do y'all want me to use the mic? You like the mic? Yeah. I'm Robert Martin. Can you hear me? Is it coming through?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay. So, my family and I moved here when I was in the 5th grade. Lumberton welcomed us with open arms. We were homeless. And a family in our church had a house that they rented out, an investment property. And so that's how we got to Lumberton. They welcomed us in, and it was quite an adjustment coming into this community. But overall, it welcomed us and we stayed. And for the rest of my life, I have been a Raider since 5th grade. And then, all of our kids, we have 8 kids, but we have 7 that are still with us. And all 7 of our kids have started and will finish as Raiders. My wife is also a teacher. We also have special needs kids. We have one who's on the autism spectrum, and then we have others with other learning disabilities or differences. And I have been an entrepreneur all my life, all my working life, and that started probably when I was about 12. I started cutting grass and earning money and learning the value of it, and then got into business and haven't ever stopped. I've served as a police officer for about 15 years. So I've got a very diverse background. I've failed more times than I can count, but I've never stopped, and that's always been a valuable attribute to me. I look forward to serving in the position on the school board, because I believe that if we're gonna get the advantages that our school district provides, that we have a duty to serve that district as well. And I will bring a balanced approach to that service. Thank you for being here tonight, and look forward to your questions. Go ahead.
All right, thank you all, candidates. Just a reminder, we do have, Brother Tim will be our timekeeper here. When he holds up this white sign here, it's a kind of note you got 15 seconds, and the blue sign is kind of a stop there if you don't mind. And so let's begin. This is the first round, some statewide issue questions, and we have 1-minute responses here, so kind of going to move quickly. And I know these are broad topics, and but let's begin with something that's not controversial at all, which is school vouchers. And that was a joke, for those of you who pay attention to that. Do you support expanding options like the education savings accounts or vouchers to give parents more control over education, or even a tax credit for parents who choose to pull their kids out of the district? Ms. Ashley, you got the first response there.
I think this is awesome. I'll use this if y'all like this better. Well, maybe. All right. Can you hear me? Is that okay? There we go. All right. If it becomes law, we obviously are going to have to follow it. I do think that our school board will do everything in its power to help us through that transition to the best of their ability. I do believe these vouchers should not come at the cost of public education. If there is a way, and I don't know if there is a way to be able to expand choice, but also have fully committed people wanting to strengthen our public education where it's not going to hurt us, I have no problem with it. With the things that are being presented, I don't think that is their motive right now. And I don't think it would be good for pub ed. But all in all, if we could find a very happy medium where people could have choice, but it would not take away from public education, that's what I would like to see.
Thank you. Ms. Chris, would you like me to repeat the question, or you?
Am I for or against vouchers?
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, I do not support vouchers. I think they're very harmful currently right now. Legislation held up $4 million, or not 4 million, $4 billion, so the vouchers could pass last time and it failed. Taking money away from our public education system denies children FAPE, which is a free appropriate public education for all students. It doesn't isolate kids who are in socioeconomic situations. We haven't had increase for our kids allotment since 2019. We haven't had a raise for our teachers across the state since 2021. Our teachers are leaving at record numbers because they can get private jobs outside of the district. They're leaving as soon as they can retire. So we're losing qualified veteran educators in our system, and it hurts students who are in special needs. You automatically give up your right to services and things like that if you choose to go into private education. So it hurts all of our students. We have 5.5 million students in the state of Texas, and that means we graduate 1 in every 10 in the United States.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Robert.
Okay, so you asked if I was, if
You
we were.
support spending options like the ESAs or vouchers or even a tax credit for parents who choose to pull their kids out of the district?
So the question's funny because it doesn't say, do you support HB3,
Does not.
which is the current bill. So in the form of that question, I'd say yes, but that's not what we have. What we have currently that is out of our control, like right now, it doesn't matter if I like it or not. Doesn't matter if any of us like it. It's gonna pass or it's not because of who we elected to go up there and make these choices for us. Does everybody understand that? This is why it's so important to pay attention when we elect representatives, because this is what they do. They go up there and they make these choices based on what they think is right, not on what you think is right. So they're not here listening tonight, okay? So what this is gonna do, one of the big things it's gonna do, we talk about teachers' pay. What's gonna happen to your retirement as a teacher? Who's gonna be putting into that? Anybody? If we lose the funding for our schools, that's one of the biggest things that's gonna hurt is retired teachers. That's gonna destroy your retirement. Sorry.
Thank you. I know these are broad topics, and this was kind of the speed round, but we'll move on to question number 2. Speaking of funding, TASB, which is the Texas Association of School Board, the executive director makes $412,000 a year. The assistant director makes $351,000 a year. Over 16 employees make more than the governor. And TASB gave $113,000 to a Democrat state candidate who is a director of a school board members for Latino equity. And considering the constant demand for education and Lumberton being a part of TASB, do you believe these salaries are justified, and should Lumberton Independent School District look for an alternative to TASB that isn't wasting as much money?
So I did a little bit of research on TASB and did realize that, sorry.
I'm sorry, Miss Ashley. Through the rotation, we're actually, it goes to Miss Kristen. She answers first. My apologies. I should have explained that. That was me.
So as far as my understanding goes with TASB, TASB is where we do our CT, or our continuing education credits for the school board. They also are the organization that we lend to find out what the legal definitions are of the laws that are passed. We also do use them for legal resources. I don't know that there's a lot of other leading organizations out there until there's a better offering out there. They are providing those things. There's a lot of instances where people make more money. The governor says that teachers should make more money in a really isolated plan of trying to promote themselves, yet teachers aren't able to achieve that. So I don't think that there's an issue with the funding that's spent. It doesn't come directly from here. So I would say either way, they're the governing institute that we have for that.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Robert?
You mind repeating the question?
Yes, sir. Just kind of go through the funding there. Considering the constant demand for education funding, do you believe the salaries at the TASB are justified, and should Lumberton Independent School District look for an alternative to TASB?
Well, as previously stated, and I'm sure it'll be echoed again, there's not a lot of options. But I have a question. What does that have to do with serving the community on the school board?
These are the statewide issues. These are the speed rounds, and then we have the.
I understand, but we have no
issues.
impact on that Like as a school board member, that's not something that we,
These are philosophical questions, to kind of
Yes.
gather where you're at.
so, I have to say I oppose the question.
Okay? And then Ms. Ashley.
I do think TASB does have some really great functions when it comes to working with the school board members in our education and being a school board member. As far as what they make, I mean, that has no direct effect on us. What we use them for is for legal policy, and then they can pass down some local policies. We can vote on it, we can change it, we can, make it to what fits us locally. But as far as TASB as a whole, I do think it's a good supportive organization, as long as they just stay away from pushing agendas outside focusing on educating our children.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right, question number 3. And Senate Bill 843 is being proposed right now, and it seeks to amend the state education code to create a database regarding bonds, and school district debt comprises a large portion of local debt. Would you support a database like this that gives more details to taxpayers, especially telling taxpayers exactly how much their taxes will go up if a bond is approved? Mr. Robert, you're going first response there.
Absolutely.
All right, all right, Ms. Ashley.
Can you repeat that, please?
Yes, ma'am. Would you support a database like this that gives more details to the taxpayer, especially telling taxpayers exactly how much their taxes will go up if a bond is approved? This is Senate Bill 843 being proposed right now.
I will also agree with that, but I do also think that our school board's transparency throughout the last few years has been very, very good. I think they've made it a point to be very transparent, and I think they've done that well, and I think that if we did something like that, that would be something that they would implement.
Thank you, ma'am. And Ms. Grissom?
It's always good to be transparent. Our district has been very transparent from the very beginning. They had a large group of people come in to go ahead and state what they wanted, and they fixed a really big package into a compact thing, and at one point I think we were at 98 million and we reduced it to 80. If you guys know what we've done, we were a year maybe late in construction, but we actually came $1.5 million under budget, which allowed us to do other things. So as far as statewide, I think there's a lot of districts who actually need to have that because there's a lot of things that aren't transparent. But as far as Lumberton is concerned, we have a website. You can go and look at all the projects, listening on all the progress and everything that happened. Lumberton is already following suit, so it doesn't necessarily pertain to us as long as the guidance and the people that are appointed to the board continue to believe in transparency.
Thank you, ma'am. All righty, Ms. Ashley, you're going first on this question. The 2021-2022 school year is the most recent TEA confirmed data. There was 326 cases of teacher-student inappropriate relationships. And using unconfirmed TEA data, they've released some, but it's not official yet, and some media reports, they're estimating that in the 2023-2024 school year, it could potentially be over 500. What policies would you push to ensure schools hold educators accountable and prevent this epidemic from affecting Lumberton?
Well, I do think a vital part of hiring your teachers and knowing what you're getting, they all do have to go through background checks, and you have to ask the right questions with them. Is there any way to stop that from happening? No, you can't stop it. Can you implement rules and regulations for it to be a lot harder? Yes. So if these rules and regulations aren't implemented on teachers, it would probably be like a no social media friends, can't be social media friends. The phones are really what's made this become a big epidemic. And if you see something, say something. That's what you gotta do, so in that aspect. But as far as Lumberton being, that going on Lumberton, I know what's happened, but it's very few and far between, and I think we've done a really good job on handling issues like that.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ms. Kristen?
I think within our district or any district, there has to be a no tolerance. Any child that is impacted by an adult taking advantage of a child is completely inappropriate. Whatever the situation is, it's harmful and damaging to our students. And so the hard line needs to be that there's a zero tolerance policy with that. Obviously, teachers go through background checks. It's probably some of the most rigorous background checks there are. I know just working for the state of Texas in higher education, the background checks that I have to go through, and I'm working with adults in most cases, and the training and things that I have to go through. So it's important that we're hiring quality people, that we're getting certified people and people who are really invested in our kids and have the right mindset for that. But there's no tolerance in that. Lumberton has dealt well with any issues or circumstances that have done that, so the guidance and everything that we have, I feel, is in place.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Robert.
All right, so I come at this from a different angle. I have a daughter who was victimized by a student here in Lumberton. And I do believe in zero tolerance, and that was how it was handled. At the same time, what I'll say is what we need, or what would help, would be people trained in the hiring process looking for character, not just experience. You can't test character from a background check. That doesn't work. Criminals never have a criminal history before they commit their first crime. So what we're looking for is high integrity and character in educators and staff that work at our schools. That should be priority number one. I'm done. That's good.
Okay, thank you, thank you. All right, this is the last of the statewide issues, and so Grapevine Colleyville ISD teacher was fired after backlash over, this was in 2022, my apologies, over a lesson plan that included promoting transgender identity and sexuality. Do you believe teachers should be terminated for promoting that agenda to students? And how would you address parental concerns while ensuring our schools remain focused on core education? And the first one there is Mr. Robert.
Can you repeat that one more time, please?
Yes, sir. Do you believe that teachers should be terminated for promoting the LGBTQ agenda to students? And how would you address parental concerns on ensuring our schools remain focused on core education?
So the first part of the question, yes, they should be terminated. The classroom is not a place to promote any political or personal agenda. It's not the place. It's not right. That is for the parents to influence their kids, not a teacher. If a teacher's political bend is known in the classroom, they failed as a teacher. They should be neutral when they educate. Now, what was the second part?
Oh, it was just, how would you address parental concerns while ensuring our schools remain focused on core education?
Focus on core education. But the problem is that this is not a school board issue. This is an administration issue for the school. The school board has little influence for that. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ashley.
Depending on what it is, I do not feel that it should be a they should not be fired for it. I understand you need to keep it separate, but we are a public education, we're a public ed. We get red, yellow, blue, black. We cannot turn our backs to anybody. And there we have children in the LGBTQ realm, and they also need to know that they're welcomed and loved, and that, backs aren't gonna turn against them no matter how conservative your town, city, state is. So being terminated, no. Should it be something that's brought up to them where they need to read the room and understand what they're doing? Yes. So maybe a talk with their admin, a write-up, something to that aspect.
Thank you, Ms. Kristen.
I think that we need to feel the pulse of what's actually happening. We do have LGBTQ students in our community that we teach to, but I think the objective is what is a core instruction that's supposed to be happening in class. When that's not happening and things are taken away from that, we are missing the opportunity to educate our children in what they're actually required to learn. Do I think that somebody should be fired? I think it depends on the instance. If it's something that was run by administration and told no, then absolutely, you're going against the policy of the district. But I also believe that if it's a discussion, it's a hard topic to talk about, but I also think that administration is responsible for those types of situations, and it's those school boards' responsibility to go ahead and back the administration.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, we're going to be moving into the local issues. These are a little bit longer. You get 3 minutes to respond there. And so the first question, and this will be going to Ms. Ashley, The district has lost over 100 students this year with a projected loss of 30 students next year. What specific strategies will you propose to stabilize or grow enrollment? And would you reconsider the board's decision against accepting out-of-district transfers to boost revenue?
All right, so I understand that we're losing kids at a rapid pace. I do think that that is something that we need to look further into. Open enrollment is definitely a touchy subject. I do know on one hand it could really help us, but on the other hand, there's so many variables to take into consideration with this open enrollment that I just don't know if we're ready for that as an entity. Obviously, board members are going to have a lot more education on that because I'm sure they've done their homework to make this decision. So I do think that we need options to help get this money back from these kids we're losing. Is open enrollment that? I don't think so. What can we do to keep our retention with children? Also, really, I don't know that answer. So there are pros and cons to open enrollment. As far as right now, my cons are outweighing my pros, but I would love to definitely learn more about it, which is why I'm, running for school board, to learn more about these things and help where I can.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Kristen?
As far as like the decrease that we've had in students, I don't think that we can really pinpoint where that is coming from. In my years of experience of living here, and seeing our enrollment and everything, our lower grades are usually heavily saturated. I think that's because we have a lot of new families that come to Lumberton and are attracted here, and then they migrate out due to promotion and different things like that. So I think we see the fluctuation in that. We haven't really grown or decreased maybe in the last 20 years, but fluctuating, a couple hundred students over that time frame. I think the objective of open enrollment, if anyone went to any of the meetings that was there, it's not to just open the floodgates and allow everyone to come in. It has a very specific purpose. And it's not to, it's to bring revenue into the system, because we did run a deficit budget this year, and it's to accumulate more of those funds back in to regenerate. We also do have open classrooms and open seats that are available. They wanted to restrict it to 55 students total for the entire district, making it no more than 5 students per grade level, except 2 grades, which I think were kindergarten, maybe 4th or 5th grade, which are at population. The superintendent at any time has an opportunity to open or close that. And if it brings revenue in, we do not have the opportunity to have sustainable income coming in right now due to some of the deficits that we are facing. And we need to grasp as a community and support the school board and the initiatives that they have for trying to generate and bring revenue in. One of the things that they fought hardest for is to try and have something sustainable, continuing to increase our teachers' pay. And we need to be focusing on those things. So when we're generating funds and those things, we're also giving opportunity to kids that may not be able to have those opportunities in other school districts. And it's not a guarantee that they get to stay in the district. We have autonomy over our students and who participates, and every LAS student has a right and a privilege to attend school prior to any outside students coming in. So I don't see it as a deficit, I see it as an improvement to our district, and we need to listen to the ideas that our school board is presenting.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Rumpf?
Would you repeat it again, please?
Yes, sir. The district has lost over 100 students this year with a projected further loss of 30 students next year. What specific strategies will you propose to stabilize or grow enrollment, and would you reconsider the board's decision against accepting out-of-district transfers to boost revenue?
So the question was about stabilization, part of it is, and one of the things that's happening is we had a shift in our economy. Everybody knows we had a big election and things changed. And with that change came opportunity for families that moved. And that has a huge impact on us losing some kids in our district. We lost them to job opportunities for their parents and other things that happen in our economy. But what's also happening is Lumberton continues to expand as a residential community, a veteran community, and we are about to see another large influx of families. So it would appear as though we're, riding a wave somewhat. But to stabilize that, we do need more revenue for our school. And one of the biggest revenue generators for any school is industry for the community. And right now we have very little industry. What we would really benefit from as a district would be another business that would employ people here in our town. And that business could be manufacturing, it could be any number of things, but if done right, that would be an enormous asset to our school district. And that would not require us to necessarily go outside of the district to recruit kids, which would be a big advantage. So one of the things that I would like to do as a citizen, whether I'm elected or not, is to work to try and attract businesses to our community, both for our district and for our people, because it's better for the future. So what was the second part of that?
Would you reconsider the board's decision against accepting out-of-district transfers to boost revenue?
It would depend on the circumstances at the time and all of the things that go into making that decision. That's really too vague of a way to ask it to be able to give a specific answer. Would I consider it? Well, if I was on the board and the board considered it, yeah. But I can't say that for certain without knowing all the circumstances.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, next question. And we will be, I don't know, lost track of, I think Ms. Kristen, you're gonna get the next question here. How will you support teacher retention and morale, especially with average salaries lagging behind the state and local average, without deepening the deficit? And what specific measures will you propose to ensure our classrooms remain staffed with high-quality educators?
So, following the district and what their objective and their plan is, I think a lot of people think that we just underpay our teachers. While the state as a whole underpays, what Lumberton tries to do is to start them off at a lower rate, and other districts start them at a higher rate. And what you start to see is this scale where they do meet in the middle. And then what you see is that Lumberton, by the time our students, or not our students, our teachers are getting to their veteran years, they're actually making more than other districts. However, the state as a whole is failing our teachers. Lumberton is a town that our revenue and what the school generates and gets is based off of rooftops, meaning that the community is responsible based on our property taxes, because we don't have industry here. And it's our responsibility as a community to go ahead and support that, even though we have no say in it whatsoever. It's mandated by the state. And what we need to do is generate more, can you repeat part of the question?
Yes, ma'am, it's about teacher retention and morale.
Yes.
So lagging behind, you addressed the kind of the we're not lagging that much behind, but without deepening the deficit, what specific measures will you propose to ensure classrooms may staff with high-quality educators?
So one of the things that the district did was they went ahead and did the four-day calendar, which brought in a lot of teachers to the district, or keeping them here. They like the flexible schedule. A lot of teachers stay here, and we see veteran teachers that are retiring early because they're eligible to do it, and we're losing a lot of new teachers coming in because of pay. So right now, if the state were to actually propose what we need to have an increase of about $10,000 to $15,000 to get our teachers equitable for the amount of work that they're doing. They're sacrificing their time, they're staying away from their families. We think that they have summer breaks, but they don't. They are giving to our kids, they're taking out of their own pockets for this, and so we need to get more revenue and everything from the state. There was an initiative to pass a Vader that was not given, and had we passed it at the time with the golden pennies and everything that we did have, we could have brought anywhere from $1.5 million to $4 million, but the community was not able to go ahead and vote for that or have an opinion for that. And the cost to the community at the time, with the economy where it was, it would have been cost neutral to almost every family in the community. So when we support those things, we need to go ahead and have an action and a support behind that we're making an investment in our kids, because we're not just parents, we're not just grandparents, we are the community, and these are the kids that we're raising to go out into the community to be successful.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Reynolds, is that a very good question?
Please.
Yes, sir. How will you support teacher retention and morale, especially with average salaries lagging behind the state and local average, without deepening the deficit? And what specific measures will you propose to ensure our classrooms remain staffed with high-quality educators?
It's a tricky question because you're asking a school board candidate to speculate about what they would propose for something that they have no authority to propose. What the teachers are, how they're dealt with is up to the administration. The school board can't make that decision. But if it were in my power, if I were a school board member and it happened to be in my power, I would promote more autonomy towards education in the classroom. Right now in our classrooms, especially at the lower grade levels, teachers are fearful to educate. They are focused on standardized testing. They are focused on staying off of discipline, because they know that if something happens and they discipline the wrong kid the wrong way at the wrong time, they're going to hear from it from everybody. They have little to no autonomy in the classroom, and they are reprimanded more than they are praised. This, if we could reverse that behavior, we would see a better teacher retention without increasing deficit, without spending more money. People do more when they know they're valued and appreciated. And our teachers are generating the legacy for our future. And they need to know how precious their duties and what they're doing is. And that would be something I would love to champion if it were in my purview to do so. So what was the rest of it?
What specific measures would you propose to ensure classrooms are staffed with?
I wish it was in the school board's ability to propose things like that, but it's not.
Okay, thank you, sir. And then Ms. Ashley.
Well, I've known teachers, I've known a lot of teachers through my lifetime, and I can promise you, they're not going into this to become rich. They're going into it because it is their calling. It is what they were called to do. They were called to teach our children. They are not going into this solely thinking about what they're going to be making on their paycheck, because it's a very well-known fact, they do not make near enough. Now, as far as where Lumberton stands in that, as said previous, if you have done your research on that, you would see, yeah, they are started low, but our veteran teachers make really good money. And as you, in any job you ever have, the longer you're in it, the higher you move up, the more money you make. As far as retention that comes to our teachers, I don't think that has a big thing to do with pay. I think that has a big thing to do with backing. And from what I've been able to see the last few years, I do feel that they are getting a lot of support, and as years go by, they are continuing to get more support and have their admin stand behind them, have the school board stand behind them, and just feel that support of the community. You always see the bad things that are posted, because no good and happy things are ever posted on social media. It's always the negative, negative, negative. And I also think that they've done a great job this year to really post the very positive things that are going on in our campus, so they're not consistently seeing all the negative things that go on. So teachers are not in it for the money. They'll tell you that themselves. Now, the longer they're in it, the better it's gonna get. I do feel like Lumberton's doing everything in their power to keep them, give them more money, but as also said previously, it is a state issue on how much money we are allotted to give these teachers, and the majority of it is going to salaries. So we have very little to work on other than anything else on salaries. So as far as retention, I do think Lumberton as a whole is doing what they can do to do that, and they are showing support to their teachers, and if their teachers don't think they're getting support, they are listening to them and showing them more.
Thank you, ma'am. All righty, next question here, and Mr. Roberts, this will be for you to begin with. One of the big issues that have been seen across the state is the influx of inappropriate books in libraries. Keller, Leander, Fort Worth, Granbury have all become infamous with school board debates and in school board meetings where the public would read books and the school board members would ask them to stop reading because of how inappropriate the books were. So what proactive steps will you take to ensure our libraries and classrooms never include books with pornographic content, and how will you strengthen book review processes to prevent further issues?
Well, here we go again with the questions that the school board can't, you can indirectly as a school board member have an impact on it, because the school board hires, fires, and manages the superintendent. And that's where it starts. So personally, I would never support having such materials in our school. And hopefully, none of our school board members would. I don't believe they would. And that influence should carry into the administration from top to bottom. And I would definitely champion those values as a school board member. That is extraordinarily inappropriate. And as I said before, as an education facility or an educator, if the kids that attend your school, your classroom, or events, if they know your personal beliefs and your political bend, you're not educating, you're indoctrinating. And we don't have any business indoctrinating our kids with that kind of stuff in the school. That's it.
Thanks, sir. Ms. Ashley?
So I don't have any recollection of this happening locally here. I have 3 girls in the district, and none of them have brought home books to me that they were like, oh my gosh, Mom, look. But I do know that there was a list made and a list passed down to have all of these books removed from these schools, but Tasby backed out. They were like, nope, we're gonna call it on that one. We don't want to have anything to do with it. But I also know Lumberton has a policy and a procedure that you can go through if you find these books and have them removed or ask for them to be removed. And I know there's a bunch of steps that have to be taken, but if these books do make themselves visible to you, and this is something that you don't think that our children should be reading, there is a way for those books to be removed from your school, from the library. I also, you don't want to, just because somebody made a list, you don't want to go burn the books that are on this list. So that's why I do think following that policy and procedure set by Lumberton to have books removed from the library would definitely be the way to go.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Kristen?
I first of all want to say that I know that there was an instance where Hardin County Women's Republican Group had gone, I think, if not to all campuses, to vet and check the books that were there. I believe they did have some concerns. I think the key that we need to focus on is what's age appropriate, right? What are we giving to our kids to read, and does it align with the curriculum that is put in place? There are instances where, people right now want to get rid of To Kill a Mockingbird, but it deals with things that are socially and racially involved, and those are things that we don't want to keep from our kids. They need to be exposed to some of those things, but it needs to be age appropriate. So I think the responsibility and the policy is what is the district, what is the curriculum following, and as a school board member, you are there to support the administrators and to make sure that they're following policy and to make sure that the policies are actually in place. If there is a policy that you disagree with, that can be brought to a school board member or the school board as a whole, because individually we're just one vote, right? But once those members are actually voting on things, it's a collective group. And the community has a say in that. Your voice is important in what drives and what is presented to your community. Saying stuff on social media, it goes out there so far, but to be present and to have an active voice in the decisions that are being made as a community member, and as myself, I have been able to publicly speak against policies that I didn't agree with. Did it align with the school board? No. Did things change? No, but my voice was heard, and that's the key point that all of us as a community have, and we need to be, what are our home values? What are the things that we value the most? And those are what drive your communities and the policies and things that you have made outside of the state. But when we have local policies and things like that, we don't need to hide our kids from everything that's out there, but we don't want inappropriate or pornographic things to our kids. I would never purchase any of those items for my children. I don't think any one of us would do that. So I'm not in support of having that, but we don't need to restrict absolutely everything, because our kids do need to know what is out there and have a realistic outlook as to what they are facing, and stories and books convey all of that to our kids.
Thank you, ma'am. And Ms. Ashley, this will be for you. Going back to 2017, Lumberton has produced solid performances with a 98% graduation rate, but some room to grow in areas like closing achievement gaps in testing. The TEA has given Lumberton ISD a B rating since 2017. What targeted strategies will you implement to elevate Lumberton ISD to to an A rating, particularly in student achievement and school progress.
Get rid of standardized testing, just kidding. But I do think that, yeah, I mean, I do think that I think that's it. I don't think that our kids should be subject to taking this test and that's what we're getting our rating on. We have some amazing teachers. Let them teach, let these kids learn instead of putting everything into this one little bubble about this test. I hate the rating system and I hate that Lumberton has a B on it because I just don't, like you said, our percentage of graduation and I mean of graduates, it's just too high for a B rating and it's all because of one thing, and I don't think that our kids should have to be subject to something that they have to take one day, and it's super stressful on our teachers. I mean, it's harder to get into a school on a STAR test day than it is a prison almost. Like it was very impressive the other day when I tried to do that. But I do think that is something that needs to be fought for, and that's one of the, I'm not really running with any kind of specific agenda to be on the school board, but standardized testing is one little nick that just I don't agree with. I don't like it, and I don't agree with a B rating for Lumberton. I think we have people that have always wanted to come to this town and wanted to be a part of Lumberton. We have people that work tirelessly to afford to live in this town, and there's a reason for it. Our school district is awesome.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Kristen.
So if any of you guys have been following like what the TEA actually has done, I don't think that it's a clear snapshot of what it is. There's over 100 school districts who have filed lawsuits against TEA just in the fact that they weren't releasing any of the grades, their A through F scores. So when you have over half the districts or half the districts in the state of Texas fighting against the TEA, what type of standard are they setting? We need to get back to educating our students. Are we actually getting them to a place where they're either going into higher education if that's their choice? Are they moving on to the military? Are we equipping them so that, with our CTE program that we have, so that they can go actually into work the day after they graduate with the certificates and the skills and the things that they're learning? Education is a place to build on and to learn, to become a better person for your community and to give back to your community. Those of us that are in here who have gone on to higher education or seen the fruits and the labors of that, you have several educators who hold multiple degrees. So we need to get back to teaching. We need to get back to the things that actually matter, that apply to our daily lives. And we need to focus on those things. So when TEA comes out with a rating, we know what our teachers put in. We know what they're doing. Lumberton is an amazing district. There's no way that I would leave for the sake of my kids, for the special education program that they implement. I would not remove my children from this district at any point. We need to give our teachers more autonomy in the classrooms. They're the experts, they're the content experts, and they know and they love our kids, and they are doting on them daily. Standardized testing, it's a snapshot. I say for my son all the time, they ask, do you want a hard evaluation, like where we go in and we do all this stuff, or do you want like an accumulative? And I would more appreciate getting an evaluation from all of his teachers than a snapshot of his day, because what if he's having a bad day? And when we take a snapshot of our kids are so stressed out because they know that they have to take this mandated test, and that's all that we're teaching to. And if that's what we teach you, then they're not learning how to be social, they're not learning how to be critical thinkers, they're learning how to take a test.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Roberts.
You want to ask it?
Yes, sir. Lumberton has reflected a solid performance going back to 2017 with a 98% graduation rate, but with areas to grow like closing achievement gaps in testing. What targeted strategies will you implement to elevate Lumberton ISD to an A rating, particularly in student achievements and school progress?
Well, first I would ask, what is the value of the A rating and why? Why is that the target? Do y'all know? It's funding. This standardized test is part of the formula used for funding, and that is a tragedy. It's unconscionable. With the 7 kids that my wife and I have, we have kids on every area of the spectrum of intellectual intelligence. And our 7-year-old, who is our youngest, was kind of discarded a little bit in the classroom because he couldn't read. and we were heading into some issues. Well, come to find out, when he was in utero, he was exposed to drugs, so it caused some cognition problems. But once we identify what it was, we find out he's got 121 IQ, and that's before we can even really test it. And with this standardized testing, he would never graduate. 121 IQ, if that was all it was, he'd never graduate. Can you imagine what a tragedy that is? The point of this is all three of us are against standardized testing. We all agree? This is a thing that we need to pay attention to when we vote, just like I said earlier. When we vote for our representatives, when we vote for things that are at a state level and beyond, we need to pay attention to these issues and how those candidates are going to perform for us or not for us, because these things are affecting our kids locally, okay? So how would I address this is very similar to what I said earlier. We need to give our teachers the ability to be the educators that they truly are. Even though they have to deal with the standardized testing, they can still have the autonomy in the classroom to teach those kids at their level, in their place, when they don't have 35 or 40 kids in one class. That's another issue we got to deal with. But I think that's good. I think I'll stop there.
Yes, sir. All righty, and then for our final question here, and we'll begin with you, Mr. Robert. Looking at Wilmington Independent School District, what would you say is the best thing that the school district currently does, or the school board currently does, and what is one area you would like to improve if elected?
One of the things that I've noticed that the school board is really good at is working together. I haven't been to as many meetings as I would like to have been to, but the ones that I've been to, I have seen teamwork in action. And not a team led by one, but a team working as one. And that was impressive to me. I'd like to see that, regardless of which one of us three you elect to represent you for the school board, I'd like to see that continue. And one of the star attributes of our district is our up-and-coming CTE program. It's a beautiful thing. If you guys are not familiar with it, I would encourage you to learn about it. Mr. Edgerton just did a little proposal on it, not this meeting, but the last one. And there is a lot of value that we're adding to our district with vocational training. Refrigeration and air conditioning, welding, a lot of the trade craft that we really need in our area that is so essential to our economy. So that's some of the best things we're doing.
Yes, so the second part was, what is one area you'd like to improve if elected?
I'd like to keep improving that.
Okay.
I'd like to see it do better. And how much more proud can we be with a 98% graduation rate? It wasn't that good when I was in school. So we're doing something right. I don't have an enormous amount of criticism for the people we have doing what they can with what they've got.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Ashley, that same question to you. What is one of the best things you see about the Wilmington School Board, school district, and what is one area, if elected, you'd like to improve?
I think one of the major keys to our school board is their transparency. I've said it already tonight, but I do think that is one of the main things that they have really stepped their game up on, so people could really know what they do, why they do it, how they do it. So transparency with our school board, I think, is one of the number one things that they have going for them. As far as improving, I think they do that daily. No school board or school district is perfect. I'm well aware that they have things that they would like to implement and keep going. I think making sure everybody feels backed, and all the teachers and administration and all the way up to the front office, that they feel supported, and continuing to build on the support with their teachers and with their admin. I think that is something that they can daily strive for and work harder at. Not that they don't, but I do think that that is one of the main things that they need to keep improving on.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Christian?
So if we look back at our history, it wasn't too long ago when we were in crisis mode where we were having to take out loans. The district was in massive deficit for inappropriation of spending of funds. The school board that has come on board has really taken to task to maintain, to get out of debt, to be fiscally responsible, and to also, wherever they can scrape together money, whether it be an incentive a year because we don't have the sustainability to actually increase pay for our teachers. They're finding ways and room to improve what small incentives they can. And I have seen them work and fight diligently to do that, going to budget meetings and having discussions about that, because they're invested. Without teachers, we don't have education. Without teachers, we don't have community. Lumberton ISD is the largest employer that we have in the city of Lumberton. So that's impacting a lot of people. Without Lumberton ISD, we don't have Friday night lights. Without LISD, we don't have programs that are succeeding. Right now, every department has taken a budget cut of 20% for the last 3 years, and they are still trying to do more with less. And I want to acknowledge and admonish all of them that are sitting here tonight for their efforts and their continued efforts. The one thing that I would like to see is a really big push and an initiative to finally get something that's sustainable for our teachers, to acknowledge the hard work and dedication that they put into our children every single day. To not only do that, but to find sustainability, not just for our teachers, but our staff across the board. We have paraprofessionals who work daily and touch our children's lives more than any teacher in the district, any transportation person in the district. They have their hands on our kids at least half of the time during the day. Half the time that we have our kids at home. And they are some of the most underpaid people in the district for that. And so what I would like to see, and it's not for their lack of effort, I want to say that clearly, it is not for their lack of effort, but we have got to do something as a community to come and build and to support our teachers and our educators. 80% of our funds go to payroll. We have 20% to take care of everything else in the district. It is a crisis point that we are facing, and we have to come together as a community to raise our voices to the state and to let them know that they need to support public education, because it is what we all have a right, and a free, appropriate education is what we all need. It's what we all generate on. It's what we grow into our futures with. And we have dedicated teachers who are doing that. We have dedicated support from our school board members who give of all of their time so that our kids can be successful.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, thank you, candidates. And so we're coming down to the closing statements, and each candidate has 2 minutes to make their final case. And Ms. Ashley, we'll begin with you.
I'm gonna reiterate, I'm coming in with as a servant to Lumberton ISD. When I wanna give back to what this community and this town and this school district has given to me and my family and their families. I don't think I'm gonna come in with an iron fist and be able to change everything. I understand a school board member is one of 7, but I am definitely looking forward, if elected, to being able to help them make decisions that will better our community, better our children's lives, better our teachers' lives, and keep pushing the biggest employer of Lumberton. The only thing that really keeps us rolling around here, other than little mom and pop or small businesses, really keep it rolling and thriving and keep on growing and growing more. So I would really appreciate your vote for Lumberton ISD trustee position 6.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Christian, 2 minutes.
First of all, again, I'd like to thank you guys for coming out. Being and voting at a local level is the biggest impact that you have. We make our biggest investments in our homes, right? We're all purchasing our homes. So that's the largest investment that we make. And having your vote, whoever you think the candidate is that's gonna support you and give you the experience. I've extended 6 years of my life to the school board. I've extended 4 years of my life to band, servicing students, and they're amazing students. And watching and volunteering my time in the community and watching these kids grow and watching them succeed. I always say that as a parent, I have a lot of parents come to me and say, Kristen, what is it that you do for your son? And my goal is not to just impact my son, it's to have an impact on all students. And we need to teach to all students, and we need to educate to all students, and we need to support our teachers, and we need to support our staff, because this is the community that drives us. Me growing up in Southern California, we didn't necessarily have Friday night lights. So I enjoy coming here and having Friday night lights. I enjoy seeing our soccer teams go out and play. I enjoy seeing our track succeed. I enjoy seeing the fact that we have so many middle school sports that are coming up. I enjoy seeing our theater students thrive in what they're doing, and all of our academics and the UIL competitions, you know, that we invest in. And so it's an investment back into the community. And I want to be here as a support to each and every student and be your voice. I've already been your voice. I've actively participated in the place where decisions are made, and I've spoken my opinion. Whether they agree with me or not, I've said what I've needed to say. There doesn't have to be 100% agreement in everything, but there does need to be a voice of reason and collaboration and coming together for the betterment of all students.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Robert, closing statement, 2 minutes.
I doubt I'll need it. I'm a hometown guy, and I intend to be here until I die. And the most valuable and the most expensive purchase, or not purchase, but most expensive thing that I deal with every day is my kids. And that's what this is all about. The legacy of Lumberton. My approach for this will be balanced. I'm a fiscal conservative, an entrepreneur. I have experience in law enforcement, dealing with the public, multiple businesses, and this is going to take a very balanced, forward-thinking, creative approach to deal with the things that are coming down the pipe. And it's going to take someone who knows how to work with the other 6 members that are going to be on the board, that knows how to work with the new members that may come and go from the board, and listen to the community and value your values. And that's what I promise to do. I hope you'll vote for me, but either way it goes, we're all in this together. And at the end of the day, we're all going to be Raiders. So thank you for being here tonight. It's been a privilege.
Fantastic. Thank you, candidates. Appreciate you all for coming out. And thank you, people who have come out to support your candidates and be involved. And if y'all like to stay and ask the candidates questions after the fact, like I said, we'll keep the lights on and keep the doors open until you guys are ready to leave. But again, thank you all for coming. You are dismissed.
Y'all want to ask questions?
Thank you.
No,
I don't want that. Yeah.
Nobody?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it. I enjoyed it.
Thank you for hosting this tonight.
Thank you.
Pastor, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for hosting.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Yes, we'll take care of that.